Hello and greetings to the community of Sierra Vista, Arizona, and to the students and staff of the Sierra Vista Unified School District. My name is Eric Holmes, and I'm a candidate for the superintendency. And I'd like to just say off the bat that it's a pleasure meeting you. I know it's a long distance video uh, way to meet. But in the times that we're in now, we have to do what we have to do. I wish I could have been there to have a dialogue with you, but this is the next best thing. So I'm looking forward to the next 20 minutes of answering some of your questions and giving you a chance to get to know me a little bit. Again, my name is Eric Holmes, and I'm originally from Pennsylvania, born and raised in Philadelphia, attended Penn State University, and have been in the education field for 32 years. I've spent that entire time here in the city of York, Pennsylvania, which is very similar to Sierra Vista. We're about the same size. There may be about 5,000 more people in Sierra Vista than in York. But as we were looking for our next step in our lives, my wife and I were looking to see where we could retire. And we were looking at Arizona, and when we decided that I was going to retire, I wanted to continue working in education. And I was looking for positions that were available in Arizona. And I came across Sierra Vista, and I haven't smiled and been that happy in a long, long time because it's very similar to what we have here. And the community seems to be a very lovely community. And I'm really looking forward to getting out there and meeting everyone. It's also a similar district. The district is roughly about the same size, and I think it's important that you know a little bit about me in terms of my commitment to education, and particularly urban education, and my philosophy of every child being able to succeed, and for the adults in the room to provide the best educational opportunity for our children that we can. So I'm really excited about this, and there are a number of questions that I've been asked to answer. So I will try to keep my time to the 20 minutes that was allotted. I wish that we could have more of a dialogue back and forth, and you ask me follow-up questions, but I'll try to answer them as fully as possible. So the first question is what actions would you implement immediately within our schools to grow culture and climate on campuses and improve stakeholder morale? I think that's a very good question. In my entry plan that I submitted to the board, there will be a number of meetings that I plan on having. There'll be a board retreat, there'll be an administrative retreat, there'll be a teacher leadership workshop, as well as a community and parent workshop. So why do all these things? Well, coming into a new situation, you have to get a feel for what's going on. I think it's important that that I listen more so than talk, and that it's also very important that after you do the listening, you do something about it. There are millions of plans that are out there where people come in and sit down and listen to what everybody has to say, and it goes on the shelf, and no one ever looks at it, and it really doesn't do any good. The purpose of me putting a plan like this together is to actually get something accomplished. So once we have the opportunity to dialogue together and we figure out what's going on, we use that information that we gather and we come up with a list of issues or concerns that I can bring to the board. The next step in that process would be to develop initiatives or strategies to address those concerns that we find when we have our discussions. And that has to be done as a team. That has to be done as a collaborative effort. Once we have those strategies and we put something similar to a strategic plan together, where we have goals, where we have dates, where we have people who are responsible for doing certain things, then we submit that to the board and the community, and we have the board adopt that as our next step or as our action plan, And then we move forward and we actually implement the things that we have in the plan. I found that saying wonderful platitudes is great, but that doesn't do anything for morale. Actions speak louder than words. And what we need to do is to show action and to show that we're moving forward. That's what will improve morale. That's what will change the climate. Because once you create that teamwork and that effort, then that many doors will open up after that. So again, action, not words, and that will be based on our action plan that we put together as a school district. The third question: explain how you would work with all employee groups and associations. Again, these are all good questions, and these are all some of the things that I did as superintendent for the last 6 years in the school district of the city of York. My philosophy is servant leadership. My philosophy is collaboration and transparency and honesty. And I believe that if you can do that and communicate what it is that you want to do clearly and effectively, then you will have a good relationship with all the groups. Now, I need to say I've worked on both sides of the educational fence. I was a teacher union leader before I became an administrator, and I understand how contracts work. I understand how unions work. I also understand what the responsibility is of a school district in terms of what we need to do to make sure that our kids are getting the best education possible. So it all comes down to communication. You have to talk to each other, and you have to create the environment where there's honesty and where you can be frank. Not every decision that is made people are going to agree with, but you have to at least be able to explain to folks, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and it always has to come back to what's in the best interest of the children of the school district. So when you have these dialogues, whether they're with non-instructional groups or whether they're with community groups or with parent groups, it's all about being open and honest and having that conversation. When we get to that point where we're having those sorts of conversations, how do we interact with each other? On a monthly basis, what I've been doing over the last 6 years is having labor management meetings where issues and concerns that have been boiling over in the school district are brought up and discussed, and we handle it that way instead of grievances or instead of other issues, because we have learned to work together because we've built trust. And how have we built trust? You build trust through the actions that you take and being honest and being an open communicator. So my philosophy and how I do things, that is basically the premise behind the relationship that you have with the different groups within your school district. Number 4 is a difficult one, because number 4 is talking about scarce resources and the strategies that I would use to bring back the elementary schools art and creative arts, fine arts, back to the elementary schools as an essential part of the school curriculum. These are tough times that we have, and budget cuts are not pleasant. In the past, I've had to make some very difficult decisions in terms of budget cuts, because the district that I'm coming from is one of the poorest school districts in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We have had numerous budget issues over the last few years, and we've had to cut staff, we've had to cut programs. Every staff person that you cut is a person with a family, with bills to pay. Every program you cut takes something away from what our kids need to be competitive on the world stage. They're difficult things to do, and no one likes to do them. But unfortunately, decisions have to be made. And when you have a situation where the budget needs to be cut, you take a look and see what your priorities are. In your case, I've done a little bit of research and I've taken a look at your budget online. I've read some of the newspaper articles that relate to the issues that you've been having with the budget, and it is very difficult. It's tough. I can make a promise to you that okay, we are going to bring everything back. Well, that wouldn't be correct. That wouldn't be true. Politicians can make those sorts of promises, but superintendents have to have balanced budgets. And it is the responsibility of the superintendent to be honest and to let the board as well as the community know what the circumstances are. So in this particular case, there are a couple of things that I think that we could be able to do, but they would involve getting the community, getting the people who matter, the stakeholders, involved in the whole process. It doesn't replace what we have, but it could serve as a bridge. So these are a couple of the things that I would recommend that we have tried here in these circumstances. When you're looking at an elementary program, unfortunately, I've had to cut phys ed and art and music out of elementary schools in order to maintain the regular curriculum. That's how it works. But when I tell you that the community can get involved and the community can be a great help, that is true. We can look for volunteers, those people who are in the local arts community, those people who are in the local music community, and we can look at retired teachers who are still in the area. There are lots of them, whether they worked in the school district or not. There are lots of retired teachers around. We can look for volunteers. We can look to see if we can put programs together that we can bring into the schools that are community-based, that are community-staffed, and that allow us to not have what we had before, at least not right now. But we could move forward with this bridge program until we're able to take a look at the budget and prioritize and determine what it is that we want to either bring back or switch with whatever was cut. There's a number of different ways to do it. But at the end of the day, where the budget as it is right now going into the 2021 school year has probably been adopted or will be adopted over the next few months. And I will not have a say in how that budget works. But we certainly can take a look at it for the 21-22 school year, along with the board, along with the community, and determine what our major priorities are. So we can also always revisit something. But in the meantime, I think that we can work with our community, work with our stakeholders, and try to bring back some programs in a different form, but at least have and recognize the fact that we find those things to be important. And music programs and art programs are very important to our kids. School cannot just be reading, writing, and arithmetic. We have to have a full spectrum of activities for our children because that's what they need to be well-rounded. So those are just some of the ideas that I have. Again, I will never promise to bring everything back because I don't know if I can, but we will certainly be able to look at creative ways to bring back as much as we can. So as I take a look at some of the questions that you have here and just go back, I really wanted to share with you some experience that I've had in my years as a superintendent that could relate to what's happening in Sierra Vista. We were here in York under a great deal of stress over the last few years because of our test scores, because of our lack of achievement, lack of academic growth, and we had to do something different. So what we decided to do, and this is something that I believe can work anywhere in the country, we decided to dedicate ourselves to change. Change is difficult. Change doesn't happen overnight. And people are afraid of change, and rightfully so, because we get into a nice, comfortable situation where we're used to doing things a certain way. And when you talk about morale and when you talk about the relationship that you have with your other groups and the relationship you have with the board and the relationship you have with the community, uh, oftentimes they're not speaking to each other and you're not on the same page, but you have to be on the same page. So what we decided to do is that we would put together a recovery plan, and that recovery plan would be based on the needs that we found in our district that had to be addressed. Some of those needs are very similar to what I read when I had a chance to look at the survey that was done. Staffing cuts, morale issues, economic issues, all of it sounded very similar, and all of it is something that happens over time with districts. Uh, but it can be solved and it can be fixed and it can be done successfully. We were able to, over 6 years, to raise our test scores, to raise our academic growth scores, and to change the climate of the district so that the surveys that we did when we first started, in terms of morale, in terms of teacher communication, in terms of the teachers and the community and the staff feeling that they are part of the organization, that changed and that improved. And that happened because we made a commitment to do it that way. And because we empowered our staff to be involved in the process. And that empowerment is not just lip service. That empowerment has to do with creating teacher or staff leadership groups within each building. Those leadership groups are not responsible to run the building. We're not talking about that. What we're looking at is how can we meet our ultimate goal, our ultimate responsibility, which is to educate children and increase growth. And everything that we do has to revolve around that. And we all have to just decide this is why we're here. This is our purpose. And everything else that we have, all the other issues or concerns that may come along, really have nothing to do with the ultimate purpose on our job, which is to educate children. So we were able to get that accomplished because we formed leadership teams. We use PLCs. We use the opportunity that we had with the community to develop partnerships where we were able to work together with the local community, local agencies, to bring programs into the school and to incentivize our teachers and incentivize our students. So all of those things took place and we were successful. But at the end of the day, the number one goal in anything that we're trying to do is to improve student achievement. So the last item here deals with a summation, and I think it's interesting because this would be the first time that I've been a stranger in a community. I've been in this community for 32 years, and coming to Sierra Vista, I would be a stranger. You wouldn't know who I am, and I would have to earn your trust and have to earn your respect. But this can happen, will happen, through me keeping my word, me being frank and honest with you, being transparent in how I deal with you and how I deal with the board and how I deal with the staff, and understanding that my management style is real simple. I believe that we have to, as a group, as a district, that we have to be transparent, and that there's nothing else that's more important than clear communication. I'm a servant leader. I try to lead by example. I try to show how things are supposed to work. And I'm excited about it. I think that it's going to be a good fit. Your district is very similar to what I have here in York, and that makes me happy. I'm excited about the possibilities. I'm excited about the challenges. I'm excited about the ultimate goal, which is to improve education for children. That's why we're here. That's why I'm here, and I've spent 32 years of my life dedicated to making that happen. So I look forward to meeting you. I look forward to coming out and visiting, and I'm really excited and happy about the opportunity. And I'd like to thank the board for giving me this opportunity to meet with you and share a little bit about my philosophy and how I'd like to see things done. Have a pleasant day and take care of yourselves.